opportunities to do apprenticeships, which, to be fair, has increased over recent years, but needs to increase a lot more. Apprenticeships are very valuable, and in this area in particular, a lot of people do go on to apprenticeships, but in other parts of the country, that figure is actually quite low, and I think we should be aiming to increase that a lot more. Also, I think you got to remember with benefits, I think there is a lot of stigma surrounding it, and I think often figures are often exaggerated by the amount of people who claim benefit and don't work. And so, I mean, I can't speak for certain, but read the Daily Mail, they'll tell you like millions are on benefit. Or if you read sort of like more like the Guardian, the Observer, they will tell you that figure is significantly less.
Thanks, Brendan. Dan?
Yeah. Well, I think that a lot of people are out there who can work and just don't. It's the easy life. I read an interview the other day that was in to a couple of family who've lived on benefits for all of their lives, and the next generation will live on benefits. And rather than say, right, go out, get a job, go down the job centre, I think it's important to, provide incentives for that. Rather than just give them the money straight off, say to them, well, here's what you can do. If you don't want to do that, then your benefits are getting cut. It's like certainly not, giving them, enough money to survive. We don't want people like running around on the streets stealing and breaking into houses just to get some food for the coming week. But it's important that that there is something there that if they don't try and get into work, or they're perfectly capable of doing something, then their benefits should be cut.
Thanks, Dan. Are you happy with the responses, Sarah? Yeah. Okay, Josh. Liam. Josh. There's Josh.
What is your current view on like the state of immigration and its so-called economic strain, and people thinking that like there's like an threat of immigration? What's your current view on that at the moment?
Okay, well we'll start with Dan.
Immigration is always going to be a contentious issue in Britain. We are a nation made up of so many different cultures now. We're Anglo-Saxon, we're made up. The French have practically overridden us since 1066, and then there's been an influx of all different things, which is good for multiculturalism. But we are getting a strain on public services at the minute, things like the NHS and all that. And we're proposing a new border police to make sure that people are. I mean, it's quite difficult to get into Britain considering it's an island in the first place and surrounded by 21 miles of water. But I think it's important that people can that there are more stringent controls on who can come into Britain. And I'm not saying that that's based on where they're from, it's based on talents and what they can do and how they can contribute to Britain.
Thanks, Dan. Brendan?
I think immigration is a very, very good thing. It's very important to the country, and I think if we didn't have immigrants coming in, certainly Polish, Romanian, and the other countries, if we didn't have all these people coming in, there would be a massive skills shortage. Certainly in regards to unskilled jobs, that, like we were saying before, people on benefits don't work, and essentially there are these unskilled jobs. These unskilled jobs are jobs that people in Britain don't want to do, but for someone coming in from certain other countries, it's a very well-paid job and it's very useful for them. And I think there is strain on the NHS, but without immigration, the NHS would have collapsed from lack of nurses, lack of doctors, and a lack of many other people who work in the NHS. It's very important to make sure that we are an open society where we accept people.
Thanks, Brendan. Sam?
Well, I think, first of all, while Conservatives might propose a border police, what with being in government and everything, you might have forgotten to notice that Labour has actually introduced the border police. I think as well, we have to bear in mind that when we have immigration for people who come over to this country to do jobs, they're doing jobs which people are not prepared to do. They're doing jobs which support structures like this college. I mean, we have Polish cleaners in this college. If this college did not have cleaners, it would, effectively grind to a halt, as, many of the other positions. I think, it's important to ensure that the needs of Britain are met. And I think the number of people in Britain who would class themselves as British, because of the great socioeconomic status no longer want to do a large number of jobs which they would consider beneath them. You know, we've had a massive influx in sort of what would be called middle class professions, office-based professions, which is to do with a greater number of people becoming qualified, greater level of skills and expertise in our own population. And I think we should be very proud of that greater level of skills and application. I have to say that I think instant intelligence, to be honest, the issues that have happened with immigration have been surrounding the Polish immigrants that have come in to do the jobs. And I think, to be honest, as the three mainstream political parties, we all have to take a stand, we all have to be sensible, and we all have to be rational about how we address people's concerns over immigration. Because this year we have 10 out of 16 wards, 16 prospective candidates, we have 10, a record high of BNP candidates in this local election. And I think that is fueled out of fears that have come from immigration debates and stuff like that. And I think some of the national parties need to sit down and start to behave sensibly in the way they address this debate and condemn those newspapers, media outlets, people, groups, whether they be pressure groups, think tanks or otherwise, that don't address immigration issues in a sensible, calm, rational debate. And I think that's one of the most important things to do with addressing immigration policy.
Thanks, Sam. Liam, does that kind of satisfy your query? Yeah. Just before I bring in people who have already asked questions, anybody so far who hasn't had the chance, please, who wants to ask a question? Josh.
Questions on benefits. You know, the people who claim benefits or don't want to, and then are given job interviews, who then take those job interviews and deliberately try to ruin those interviews so they can carry on benefits. Are there any policies to sort of stop or flout those people? I know the Tories had that 3 strikes and you're out idea. Did that ever come to our policy?
Well, it's kind of wrong, but it's just a part of the, you know, can work, will work kind of thing. It's, I think it's important that we don't recognise that people who are on benefits are people just bosses, because they're not, you know, people who are on benefits have got disabilities, got, you know, so many children they don't know where to look. And I think it's important that we recognise that it's not just people who are on benefits can't bother going out to work. You know, the Labour government gave an advertisement campaign to encourage others to report people who are committing benefit fraud. And I think it's important that we separate people who are exploiting the system and to punish those and people who are actually using it to its full effect and how it should be used.
Thanks, Sam. Brendan?
Honestly, I think people who do refuse, I think they should be, not made, but certainly much more encouraged to do community service. Like, certain people just can't get jobs. People are just unemployable, essentially. And if you cut their benefits because you view them as not trying hard enough to get a job, it's a mistake. So instead, what should be happening is they should be offered, they should do much more community service, not as a punishment, much more as a job in a job type environment, stuff like road sweeping, stuff like that. And instead, you should say if you don't do the community service, your benefits will be cut. Not got rid of completely, but cut slightly, just to make sure that just as more as an incentive to do work.
Thanks, Brendan. Sam?
I think it's important, first of all, to understand what we're talking about when we're talking about benefits. The benefit system under the Labour government is extensive, and I understand that we're addressing the job seekers allowance benefit, but I think it's important to maintain that lots of people from lots of different families and stuff, people who wouldn't expect, are on benefits to support them with their needs and requirements. There's things like working family tax credit, there's there's EMA, that's a form of benefits. So I think when we have these debates and we talk about benefits, we need to be specific about the benefits we're talking about and not seek to castigate people and, scare people away from claiming benefits. I mean, quite a few people don't apply for things like EMA because they're scared of the implications of benefits, and I think